Greetings, Deborah Leanne here, and time for a bit of authentic leadership. It's about leading and living and loving from a place of wholeness and integrity and courage. And in honor of next week's Halloween and the Day of the Dead, I want to look at fear. Why we think some things are so funny, to watch a scary movie and what the thrills are around that. Yet when the simplest things that will not cause us to die, chances are most of the things that cause us fear in our bodies have nothing to do with life and death situations. Yet, for me, and I'll speak for myself, I find myself wanting to pull the covers up over my head and go back to sleep, or even just recording this and sharing with you vulnerably every week. I have this tenseness in my belly, and sometimes it actually shifts because I will it to be coming from a place of, excitement. And I like to take that stress of fear and reframe it in my system. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's just talk about what scares you. What are some of your deepest fears? What would happen, or what would need to happen for you to be and do everything you're here to do in this lifetime? Where do you have reactive tendencies that hold you back from speaking your truth, from declaring your worth, from, totally radically giving yourself the self-care that you want and desire and need and require? Where do you not show up, speak up, stand up when you know in your gut that it's time that it's time for you to do so? Where something is an injustice, or that something doesn't feel right in your system. Yet, our fear of not being liked, not being part of the tribe, not being loved, not being accepted, not being viewed as fill in the blank, competent enough, strong enough, qualified enough, deserving enough. I mean, we all have our stuff, and very often that is what runs our life. It's this underlying, if you look at it, there's an epidemic of fear in our world right now. We govern through fear. We don't do law enforcement as much as we enforce via fear. We speak, if you look at the headlines, very often the ones that sell are fear related. They aren't the good, lovely stories of what's going right in the world. It's all about what's not going right, so that you can buy that news, stay on that page, tune into that channel. And speaking of tuning into that channel, what does that do in your system? When you do tune in to that and you operate from that place of fear, I believe we create a lot of stress. The anxiety is at epidemic levels, and we are creating a huge health crisis. We're probably aging ourselves way more than we need to, way more quickly, and we're not modeling for our children a life of possibility. We're modeling for our children how to be safe, how to play it safe, how to fit in, how to cover up, how to not explore the risky business of coming and operating from a place of courage. We know that really good leaders are those that are risk takers. There's a courage is one of the underlying factors of how everybody votes or agrees of what makes up a good leader. And very often, if you look at men, they handle fear in a different way. Women, when we try to handle fear in a masculine way, it's not honoring of us. Because we're afraid, I think, very often if we show that, oh my gosh, this is scary stuff, then we'll be viewed as not qualified and not competent and weak or indecisive or whatever the labels might fall upon us. The backlash could not be very positive. Yet over and over and over, we know that we relate to, we trust, we connect with those that come from a place of courage, big, huge hearts who are vulnerable enough to say, this is scary for me. This is a new thing for me. I'm nervous. This is something that, I have this fear of presenting, of sharing via podcast, of being videotaped, of whatever it is that we're doing. Once we say that, then we don't have to pretend like we're not afraid of it and we can move on. The other thing is it takes away the power. Because I think where fear really gets strong is when we repress it. We stuff it down, we act like it's not there, and we try to be the fearless leader. And there is no such thing as really a fearless leader. I think fear is always going to be there. It's a very valuable emotion. And if we learn to recognize it as that, as a guidepost, as oh, there it is, that's fear. Now let me tune in and see if it's real. Is there a danger here for my life? Is there a danger here that I need to be aware of? And once we realize there's not, that it's just some old story that's trying to hold us back, we can thank it and say, wow, this is just an opportunity for me. I love this quote, fear is a natural reaction to moving closer to the truth. The other quote I have here is that fear is the precursor to valor. Valor, V-A-L-O-R, the courage, the bravery to step over the fear, step beyond, go beyond that barrier. I mean, how often do we walk up and knock on someone's door and they open the door and we say, oh, no, thanks. I don't, I just wanted to see if this door was open. And we don't go through the door. And that's what fear is. It's a doorway. We have a choice. We are at choice. Once the door is open, do we want to go or not? And if we stay back, we are letting our old self, our ego, our stories of who we used to be keep us back where we were. We'll not get to that next place of growth, expansion. We'll not get to that dream, that goal, that completion of this next level in the game of life, if you want to call it that. So and it's funny, we were talking about this yesterday or this week at a business expo. And when we went and, we were around all these strangers and meeting people and networking and introducing ourselves, one of the women was saying something about something being hitting so close to home. It was so true for her. And how sometimes most of the time we all have some kind of a reaction to when something hits home. It will either bring up tears because we resonate so deeply with it in our heart. It will bring up laughter, a discomfort, like, ha, that's funny. Yeah, because it's another way of pushing it away through laughter. And those are all opportunities to be aware of. When we get to something where we're at the edge of something where somebody is right at the point of telling us what's true and it resonates with us, what do? Often I do laugh. When somebody says something that is so spot on, it's so poignant, I at first have to laugh at the recognition of, yes, you are so right. And it diffuses the argument or the situation that we're in to a place where there's a common humanity and we can move on from there. So what I'm trying to get at is fear is a valuable tool. And how can we, more often than not, use it as a way to recognize that our humanity is wanting to stay small. And yes, thank you very much. But that outfit no longer fits. That limit no longer resonates with me. I'm ready to step beyond that. And the other thing that we can do, and I love this, and I'm going to give credit to Carmen because she reminded me of this morning when I was talking about the fear that I have of speaking up about some of these things and how much I'm so tired of our whole government and our whole world being driven by fear versus love. Because when you have fear, it's really hard to operate in a loving place. And she reminded me that if you're in gratitude, you are unable to feel the fear. So when fear arises, how can you shift that into, wow, thank you. I'm so grateful for this, and this. And it shifts the fear into a place of being in the back seat, no longer driving you, but more of a background noise, you know? I'm thinking of this beautiful music that I'm playing in the background, and I don't want it to overwhelm my words, yet one of the most beautiful Rumi quotes that I heard in a meditation yesterday was that raise your words, not your voice. And it reminded me that if I want to be heard, I don't have to yell. And very often when we are afraid, we do yell. We get angry, we raise our voice, we scream. There's something about the letting out of that fear through our vocal cords that helps to, I don't know, I would think it would actually speed up the adrenaline in your system. And it's not what we're wanting right now. We're wanting to slow down. It's the time to take a breath and recognize what's the motivating factor here. What's the driving force? And what do I want it to be? What do I choose it to be? The other thing is there's competing. You know, we say we want something. And we just did this in a workshop the other day that I was using a concept called Immunity to Change, which is a book by Bob Keegan, and I forget the woman that wrote it with him, who also teaches this. Bob teaches this in leadership at Harvard. And the way that Robert Keegan explained it was that when we want something, we have a goal or something out in front of us, we say we want this. Yet what we don't do is look at all of the things that are surrounding it that we operate already from. We're already operating with a whole ecosystem to keep that from happening, or we already would be doing that thing that we say we want to do. And when we don't recognize all of those old muscles that are holding us back into this old holding pattern, we can't change them, and we're never going to get where we say we want to go. So it's the recognizing, it's the asking for help, it's the realizing that I don't have to change all of these at once, but very often if I just change one thing, it will affect all of the others. And that's what I want to do with fear. And this is my challenge to myself. You're welcome to join me if you'd like. I'm going to take this fear I have of really being out there with a lot of my ideas and concepts and views of the world. And the other thing is to pick up the phone and call and talk to leaders about it and see who wants to have conversations around this. Because I can't change this world, this community, even my neighborhood, by keeping all of this within. And it's easier, believe it or not, for me to pick up my computer and record this podcast because I'm talking to just myself, almost, is how it feels. But to pick up the phone, it scares me that the person may not like me, may think I'm weird, may hang up on me, may have no interest, may think I'm whatever, crazy. My reputation's at stake, and then they'll tell people, and then I'll have a bad I mean, all of these strange things that basically boil down to I won't be loved. That's my biggest fear, is that if I am truly who I am and share my goals and visions and dreams for the world with other people who I believe have power and influence, that I will not be loved. I will not belong. And interestingly enough, I already don't belong. So why would I belong in terms of humanity and sharing in this community, but I am not being viewed as what I want to be viewed as a community change agent yet anyway. So what am I afraid of? I don't have that thing that I want already, but I'm afraid of not getting, and I can't get there if I don't at least ask. At a board meeting yesterday, we had a great presenter sharing with us on going out and asking for sponsorships. And she said 100 times that you go on meetings with high influencing decision makers and you do not ask 100 times for the donation, sponsorship, or money, 100 times you won't get it. However, if you ask 100 times, very likely you'll have a much higher percentage of yeses. And it's true. Picking up the phone and asking somebody if they're willing to collaborate with me on this project that I have, this vision I have, is all I need to do. And if they say no, I move on to the next person. But at least I know where I stand with that person versus thinking, wow, I would really like to work with them. They'd be an awesome person to partner with on this project, or to put together a team of leaders to drive these conversations, courageous conversations. Because, see, it's easier for me to facilitate those than to actually hold my own. Just as we all teach most of the time what we most need to learn. So that's where I'm going to go with fear today. I'm going to, as we watch the kids be thrilled with their little scary Halloween, the decorations and the trick-or-treating at nighttime, and dressing up in some of their scary costumes and wanting to look scary, let's remind ourselves that we can laugh at our fear too, and remind ourselves that it's an opportunity to remember where we have been and to look at what's driving us, and to shift our focus from looking in the rearview mirror, which is much smaller, to looking through our windshield, which is much larger, for a very good reason. To look where we're going, not where we've been. So on that note, I've got some visioning workshops coming up, one on December 1st and one in January on the 12th. And I would love to share some of these new visioning exercises with you. Interestingly, that doesn't scare me because I feel really comfortable with that. It's the scary, courageous conversations, conscious leadership, and really getting to the itty-bitty, dirty, underlying concepts around where are we not inclusive, where are we not providing access for equality and social justice. That's the stuff that makes us all a little bit uncomfortable, some more than others, more uncomfortable. And yet I feel that's where I need to go. So we'll see what 2018 brings forward, but that's part of my vision. I'll share that with you right now. And until the next time we speak, look at where you're operating from. Are you operating from fear, running away from what you don't want? Or are you operating from gratitude and the grace of what is calling you forward? One feels so much better than the other. You know, going to the place of knowing that I am a healthy, vibrant, physical body is a much better motivator to me when it comes to eating choices than what I don't want to be. I don't want to be this weight. I don't want to be unhealthy. I don't want to be inflexible. That doesn't motivate me at all, and it holds me back, and it actually works against me. I truly believe that our desires are a huger motivator, and they are also a much more pleasant way to motivate us towards where we want to go. Connect with me. I've got some great exercises. If you can't make it to the workshops and you want to work with me remotely, one of the exercises, the vision walk, is very, very powerful. And we tap into the energy underneath where you want to go and use that as your compass when you go out for your walk. So I look forward to speaking with you, and take excellent care of you. Keep shining even when there's fear present. Shine your light with a gratitude and a grace that allows you to operate from there versus fear. Take good care. Bye-bye.